Welcome to the deep dive. We got some really interesting material sent in this time. It's excerpts from a book titled GettingWomen.pdf.
Yeah, intriguing is definitely one word for it.
So our plan, as always, is to dive deep. We want to pull out the key ideas, really understand what the author's getting at here.
Exactly. Our mission for this deep dive isn't just to summarize. We're aiming to explore the core arguments, the techniques presented about, well, male-female interactions, specifically around attraction, relationships.
And some pretty specific tactics.
Right. And the introduction doesn't pull any punches, does it? That phrase, unfair seductions in an unfair world, certainly grabs your attention.
It really does. Sets a certain tone right off the bat. So let's jump in. Where does he start justifying this unfair approach?
Well, he actually begins by saying he had serious moral reservations about including some of these tactics.
Okay, so he wrestled with it a bit.
Seems so. But then he brings in this analogy about boxing.
The boxing match, yeah.
He says, if you agree on rules, but your opponent suddenly throws a low blow, it changes things. It's not fair anymore.
Right. So he's applying that to dating.
Pretty much. He argues that men sometimes face what he sees as unfair treatment from women. Things like being led on or used as a spare tire, he calls it.
Or that line, I'm just not attracted to you, but only after a guy's invested time and energy.
Exactly, those kinds of scenarios. And his position is, well, if you're facing that kind of dirty fighting, you're not morally obligated to just take it. You shouldn't be a victim.
So responding kind, essentially.
That leads to his principle. Play fair until they play unfair. It sounds very tit for tat.
Okay. And he also touches on a broader unfairness, doesn't he? Like the idea that attractive or rich guys have it easier.
He does. There's this undercurrent that maybe the playing field isn't level to begin with, and, well, he seems to believe all men deserve sexual satisfaction regardless of those factors.
Interesting perspective. And then there's that core idea about power dynamics.
Yes, this is pretty central. He claims that for men, sex, or pursuing it, often feels like a chore, whereas for women, it's always a choice.
That's a strong claim.
It is, and he explicitly states the book aims to shift men from the chore side to the choice side of that equation.
But he does add some caveats, right? It's not all about these tactics.
He does. He acknowledges relationships are more than just sex, and these unfair methods aren't always needed or even desirable.
He even says to cherish a woman who wants you without games, calls her a rare treasure.
Right, but then he immediately follows that up with a dose of pessimism.
Yeah, based on his experience, he suggests those women are, well, rare, not the norm.
So his justification for the book, even if you don't use the seduction stuff, is that it still helps. Build confidence, learn how to meet women.
And spot the nutty losers, as he puts it.
He also criticizes other books in this genre, saying they fail because they don't build that essential confidence first.
Yep.
He claims his book makes that the priority.
And it's not just elective lines to memorize.
No, he actually encourages creativity, adapting the tactics, developing your own style.
But you do need to actively work at it. Memorize things, do exercises.
Yeah, engagement is key, according to him, not just passive reading.
Okay, that sets the stage.
Yeah.
So what's the absolute core attitude he says you need?
Yeah.
That foundation for everything else.
It's very direct, almost aggressive, you could say. It's this mantra, I make no excuses for my desires as a man, I make no excuses for myself, I move through the world without apology.
Wow, okay. How does he illustrate that?
He tells this anecdote about a friend. The friend ends up at the wrong party, sees a woman he likes, and instead of beating around the bush, he just walks up, says he's interested, and asks for her number.
Yeah.
Directly, no apology, no hesitation.
And it worked.
Apparently so. And the author's point is that attitude, the unapologetic ownership of your desire is way more powerful than lines, looks, or money.
So don't apologize for looking at attractive women, or wanting to meet them, or ask them out, or even wanting sex.
That's exactly it. But crucially, he says, conveying this isn't mainly about what you say.
Right, it's the nonverbals.
Yeah. Tone, expression, posture, even how fast or slow you talk. It's the whole package.
And he's clear this isn't about being a jerk.
Yeah.
Right? Not just arrogance.
No, he clarifies that.
Yeah.
He says you can combine this unapologetic stance with warmth, with humor. It's not mutually exclusive.
Okay. Then there's a second key attitude he brings up.
Yes, building on that foundation. It's about resilience.
Which is?
I don't get rattled by setbacks because I learn from my mistakes.
So handling rejection, basically.
Exactly. Learning from it, not being crushed by it. He uses a karate champion analogy.
Ah, okay. Like even champions lost fights on their way up.
Precisely. They didn't get good by avoiding failure. They got good by learning from it. Mistakes and rejections are expected. The key is to analyze them and improve.
Makes sense. So you've got these two attitudes. How does he suggest actually like installing them, making them part of you?
This is where he gets into mental techniques. He talks about mental imagery, specifically two types.
Type 1 and type 2.
Right. Type 1 is seeing yourself, like watching a movie of yourself, disassociated.
Okay.
Type 2 is seeing through your own eyes, experiencing it directly, associated.
And type 2 is the powerful one for change.
That's his argument. It feels more real, so it has more impact on your mind for achieving goals. He thinks failing to use type 2 is why many people don't succeed with self-help stuff.
Interesting. So how do you use that? He mentions anchoring.
Yes, the anchoring exercise. The goal is to link a strong feeling, like confidence, to a physical trigger, like squeezing your wrist.
How does that work?
You recall a past time you felt really confident or powerful. You step into that memory, type 2 imagery, feel the feeling strongly. And right at the peak of that feeling, you do the anchor squeeze your wrist or whatever you choose, and you repeat that pairing several times.
So you're conditioning yourself, basically.
Kind of, yeah. So later, when you need that confidence, you can fire the anchor, squeeze your wrist, and bring back that feeling. He suggests visualizing future situations with women, using type 2 and firing the anchor.
And apply it to the learning from mistakes attitude too.
Yes. Visualize making a mistake, consciously feel okay about it, figure out the lesson, and anchor that feeling of resilience.
Okay, so it's about mindset installation. Then chapter 3 shifts a bit, connecting confidence with women to self-respect.
Exactly. He argues that true confidence with women stems from genuine self-respect.
And he sees a problem where some men lose that around women.
Yeah, he observes guys who are maybe assertive elsewhere becoming like spineless wimps, his words, or overly apologetic when it comes to dating, often from insecurity, he suggests.
Or the opposite extreme, guys obsessed with getting laid.
Right. He mentions that too, becoming compulsive about it, potentially losing self-respect in that pursuit.
So what's the fix, according to him? How do you build that self-respect?
His main advice is to stop needing women quite so much. Find other things you genuinely enjoy. Hobbies, interests. Things separate from dating.
Like his bass fishing example.
Exactly. Something you do for you that builds your own sense of self, provides an escape, and makes you less dependent on validation from relationships.
Okay, that makes sense. Which leads into the next chapter about the power of a single word.
Yeah, he calls it a magic word for success, especially with attractive women.
And that word is no.
Just no.
Simply no. He argues that being willing and able to say no sometimes over things that genuinely matter to you is crucial for self-respect.
So setting boundaries.
That's how he frames it. Self-respect equals boundaries. And his belief is that when a woman senses you have boundaries, that you can't be easily controlled. Well, he claims that's instinctively attractive.
Even if it's hard to do, like walking away.
He acknowledges it's tough, compares it to ignoring pain in a street fight. You just have to push through and stick to your guns, essentially.
Right.
All right. Then chapter 5 contrasts different mindsets again, focusing on winning versus not losing.
Right. He brings up General Patton's view of Montgomery.
Oh, yeah.
That Montgomery was supposedly more focused on not losing than on winning.
Yeah.
He uses that as an analogy for how some men approach women playing it safe, afraid to make a mistake.
Defensive.
Exactly. And he argues strongly against that. Shift your focus, he says. Acknowledge the risks, sure, but put your mental energy into what you want to happen. Visualize the win.
What it will be like with her sights, sounds, feelings.
Precisely. Focus on the desired outcome, not the potential pitfalls.
Okay. Then chapter 6 takes a different tack, talking about warmth and friendliness,
Yeah.
even faking it.
Yeah, this is interesting. He tells a story about an evangelist he knew who was apparently very successful with women.
Not by hitting on them, though.
No, according to the author, it was just his genuine warmth. He made women feel cherished, adored.
So the lesson is,
The as-if principle. Act as if you genuinely like people, and they tend to respond positively. They feel good around you. He argues even women who seem guarded still want to feel liked and special.
and your internal state affects how you come across.
Hugely. He says the meaning of communication is the response you get. If you sound fearful or suspicious, even unconsciously, that's what you convey.
Your voice tone,
Yeah.
your body language, it reflects what you actually expect to happen.
That's the idea. If you expect rejection, you might sound hesitant or act awkwardly. If you expect to be liked, you project that confidence.
He has that exercise with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, to demonstrate the power of tone over words. Say the pledge with warmth, then say it with humor. Same words, totally different feeling and impact.
Okay, that makes sense. So moving into more tactical stuff, Chapter 7 is about just getting noticed, the initial approach.
Right, the very first step, getting her attention, he compares it to advertising.
How so?
Like, the headline or the first sentence of an ad determines if people read on. Your opening line or action with a woman determines if she engages further. It has to grab her.
And he lists ways to do that.
Yeah, quite a few. Humor, making her curious, putting an unusual twist on things, role-playing, faking familiarity slightly, appealing to ego, even being a bit outrageous. Different tools for different situations.
Got it. So you've got her attention. Next is building rapport, Chapter 8.
Exactly. Rapport. He defines it as, accord, harmony, affinity, getting on the same wavelength.
Tone of voice is key again, obviously.
Definitely. But he introduces specific techniques here, too, mainly mirroring.
Like copying her.
Subtly, yes.
Mhm.
He mentions Milton Erickson, the hypnotist, mirroring breathing patterns to build subconscious connection.
Our unconscious minds pick up on this stuff.
That's the theory. He mentions an experiment where people unconsciously mirrored head swaying. We're often unaware of these subtle influences.
So the advice is to subtly mirror her.
What?
Breathing, speech pace, gestures.
Things like that, yeah. Breathing rhythm, tone, speed of talking, maybe posture, small gestures, but subtly. If she notices, it's creepy.
Right.
But done well, unconsciously, it creates this feeling of comfort, like you've known each other longer than you have.
Okay, so attention, rapport. Then Chapter 9 gets into specific places and methods where to actually meet women,
Yeah, practical applications. He starts with singles bars.
which he admits are tough.
Very. Women hear tons of lines. His advice is basically, it's a numbers game, expect rejection, find an approach you enjoy, he liked humor, and a practical tip. Bring a pen and notepad because it's noisy. Use it for a funny survey or something.
Like his bad line survey idea.
Exactly, and move on quickly if someone's not responsive.
What about happy hours?
Potentially better, he thinks. Alcohol lowers inhibitions. The survey approach might seem less out of place there.
Then he talks about waitresses.
Yeah, notes they're often attractive, and the interaction is sort of built in, lower pressure initially. You can go for it quickly, one step, or build rapport over time, two step.
And he has these waitress bait openers.
He does. One's a clever line playing on female rivalry, kind of edgy.
Okay.
Another is more direct. Acknowledge interrupting her, express attraction, but frame it as you working up the courage. That part's apparently key.
And the fake showbiz one.
Oh, right. The dirty, sneaky LA-specific one, using fake headshots, pretending to be in casting. Yeah, that one's definitely out there. He does add an ecology warning about deception, though.
Good. What about everyday places? Street, supermarket.
Tough, he says, but rewarding. Key is being upbeat, happy, warm, friendly, not intense.
And he suggests the compliment string.
Yeah, a sequence of escalating compliments leading to a playful intro and asking her for coffee right then. He gives specific lines, like calling her a shining example of genetic perfection. It's meant to be charmingly over the top.
Followed by lines about her good taste if she laughs.
Right, playing into it, stressing the importance of asking her for something then and there, public place, direct but charming, using, I'd be very flattered.
He also mentions the accidental sneeze pickup.
Yeah. Just an example of using any random public occurrence as an opener. Be opportunistic.
What about asking someone out when others are around? Like his barbershop story.
Yeah, the technique there was supposedly mental distancing to find the right words. Then a playful, self-deprecating approach that kind of included everyone made it entertaining.
Before hitting her with the direct invitation.
Right. Confident follow-up. I'd be very flattered if you'd have dinner with me tonight.
He even has a last-ditch method if she says no initially.
The secret admirer t-shirt. Yeah, that's something else. Wildflowers first, wait a few days, then show up wearing a custom I am your secret admirer shirt.
The sheer effort and weirdness is the point, I guess.
That seems to be the idea, uniqueness. He even offers to sell the t-shirt in the book.
Of course he does. Okay, then there are the slashing comebacks for women who aren't interested.
Yeah, for women he calls sleazoid sluts. It's a list of sarcastic, confrontational replies designed to put her down as she rejects you rudely. Things like predicting her lonely future or offering her a tampon.
Wow. Okay, moving on. Chapter 11 talks about using personals, but not in the usual way.
Right. Don't place a typical personal ad. Instead, place a small classified ad targeting women. Headline like, Women, How to Find Your Dream Man in 30 Days.
Offering free info for a stamped envelope.
Exactly. He claims this generates hundreds of replies. Then you send them a letter, which is basically your personal ad detailing what you want, what you don't want, asking for a letter and photo back.
A numbers game again, but flipped.
Pretty much. Filtering through respondents.
Chapter 12 is about bird-dogging, trying to get a woman who's already with a guy.
Yeah, he offers two main ways. First, approach the couple, be super nice to the guy, buy them drinks, build yourself up while subtly making him look less impressive. Then ask for her number when he's in the bathroom.
Risky.
Very. He advises making it your last play of the night and leaving quickly. The second way is just lurking by the bathroom and approaching whichever one goes in alone, assumption being she might not be that into her date.
All right. Chapter 13. Get the number or ask for a date on the spot.
Two schools of thought. He prefers trying for the date right then and there. Spontaneity, capitalize on the initial excitement.
Okay, but Chapter 14 details the phone number route if you go that way.
Right. He notes women often give excuses, not direct no's. Says anything but immediate enthusiasm means low interest.
How to ask?
Matter-of-factly, I'd like to take you out. Can I have your number? Or slightly more creative line. Then leave immediately after getting it.
When to call?
Depends on perceived interest. 5-7 days if she seemed really keen, maybe just 2 days if less so.
And the call itself.
Cheerful, fun tone. Ask for a specific night. Let's do dinner Wednesday at 8. Then silence. Let her respond.
What if she can't make that night?
A specific counteroffer, how about Thursday, is good. A vague, maybe some other time, is usually a no.
They beware the call me back to confirm thing.
Yeah, he sees that as her keeping options open without committing. His advice is to say something like, we'll try another time when your schedule's looser. Hang up, wait a week, try again. If it happens again, move on.
Get off the phone quickly once a date is set. No voicemails before the first date.
Those are his rules, yeah. Keep it crisp.
Okay. Chapter 15 revisits making the date on the spot.
Right, his preferred method. Emphasizes appearing casual, not like you're just after sex immediately. Uses his friend Jim's story coffee invite turned into dinner, movie, sex.
The key is changing the environment.
Yes. Steer her somewhere nearby, but different coffee, pizza, whatever. Allows for more interaction, maybe using those rapport techniques. But not back to your place right away. Keep it public first.
Got it. Chapter 16 deals with canceled dates. He takes that seriously.
Very seriously. Frames it as a major offense. He suggests a pretty coercive technique.
Which is?
When she gives an excuse, you reframe it like, so you want to go but can't because of X. Get her to agree. Then immediately ask, well, since you want to go, what arrangements can we make right now? Put her on the spot to reschedule.
Oof, aggressive.
There's an alternative, too. And to make her feel absolutely awful. Feign disbelief, demand the truth, accuse her of lying. Yeah. Pretty intense.
And don't jump at a counteroffer if she cancels.
No, makes you look too available. He suggests either putting it off, we'll try when you're less busy, then wait weeks to call again, or putting the ball completely in her court by saying something like, when someone cancels on me, I leave it up to them to make the next date. If you want to go out, call me. Maintaining that I don't need you frame.
Okay. Now, the book shifts into even more intense territory, right? Getting physical.
Yeah, chapter 17 to 19 cover escalating to sex, including hypnosis and handling resistance. He does add a disclaimer in 17, though, saying these aren't for building long-term relationships.
Chapter 18 is the hypnosis chapter.
It is. He claims it works, says it even scares me at times how effective it is. But then there's a big legal disclaimer.
About consent.
Yes. Warning that sex without enthusiastic consent, potentially due to incapacitation via hypnosis or alcohol, could be considered sexual assault in some places. He explicitly states he's not responsible if the reader misuses these techniques.
That's a necessary warning. So what are the techniques?
He calls it covert hypnosis, bypassing conscious resistance. First is stacking realities.
How does that work?
You tell a story about someone else having the feelings or doing the actions you want her to experience. The idea is she has to mentally simulate it to understand the story, and thus starts feeling it herself. He gives a script example involving sensory details and anchoring.
Anchoring again.
Yes. Technique 2 is anchoring for an erotic state. Figure out her preferred sense, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, by asking about a vacation.
Okay.
Then have her recall an exciting, implied erotic memory. Guide her through recalling the sights, sounds, or feelings. At the peak, have her wiggle a finger while you anchor it with a wrist squeeze and say, good. Repeat later, trigger the anchor.
And the third one, sensory overlap.
Similar start, find her preferred sense. Talk about something neutral, like the beach, using her preferred sense words. Then shift to other senses, leading towards kinesthetic, physical, potentially erotic feelings. He claims shifting systems can induce a trance, then guide the feelings towards arousal.
Wow, okay. Then there are non-hypnotic power closes.
Right, still in Chapter 18. One is taking what belongs to you.
Describe that one.
Contrast with a nervous guy. She invites you in for coffee. After her first sip, you stop talking, intense eye contact, slight smile. Calmly put your cup down, take hers, look at her, take her face in your hands, passionate kiss, no words, slow, deliberate, conveys pure desire.
Intense. And the tease.
Act like you know she wants you badly, but you're holding back. Lean in to kiss, pull away. Brush her face lightly, say something playful, pull away. Then suddenly yawn, say you're tired, suggest leaving.
Catch her off guard.
Exactly. As she gets up, surprise her with a passionate kiss.
Okay. Then there's a very explicit section on the makeout.
Extremely explicit. Chapter 18 again. Detailed step-by-step instructions. Emphasizes being powerful, determined. Move quickly from mouth to neck, hands roaming, cupping breast, palm on pubic mound.
Specifics about bras, nipples.
Yeah. Lift shirt before removing bra, lick around nipple, then flick bite gently. Kissing crotch through clothes, then removing pants panties confidently. Kissing back up while touching genitals. Oral sex instructions.
Including his favorite cunnilingus technique.
Yes, very specific positioning and finger techniques described to expose and stimulate the clitoris. Then putting on a condom and slow, deep penetration. It's graphic.
Definitely. And Chapter 19 directly addresses breaking down resistance.
It does. He explicitly challenges no means no. Suggests no can mean other things, not wanting to seem easy, uncertainty, fear.
What's the wrong way to respond, according to him?
Arguing or giving up and sulking.
The right way.
If it seems like caution, agree with her feelings, back off slightly, try again later. If it's genuine lack of attraction or serious issues, he says end it.
But what if she says, I'm just not attracted to you? He has specific tactics for that.
Several, yes, and they are. Quite something. The as-if frame. Pretend you misread signals. Ask her to show you how she'd act if she was attracted. Expressions, posture, feelings. Then try to touch her while asking how that touch would feel in that state.
Whoa.
Redefine the meaning. Reply. What you're really saying is you have an unprecedented opportunity to expand your pleasure range. Consequences. Tell her rejection turns you on more.
Seriously.
That's what it says. Shock. Reverse it with a crude insult like, who says I'm attracted to you? I'm giving you a mercy. Then immediately try again. Humor. Put a paper bag on your head. Say, that should fix it. Try again.
And guilt.
Feign sobbing. Talk about your deep longing. Beg for just one kiss. Then resume the pass. If stopped, sob some more.
These are extreme examples of refusing to accept no.
They absolutely are. Chapter 20 is just a brief wrap-up, hoping the reader uses the techniques for colossal success.
Then the appendices summarize things.
Yeah. Appendix 1 lists the ultimate rules and attitudes, like, I make no excuses for my desires. I don't need you. You need me. You can't control me. There is no woman so beautiful that I can't make her mine. The core beliefs.
Appendix 2 is about representational systems again. VAK.
Quick recap on visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and how to spot someone's preference by listening to how they describe a vacation.
Appendix 3 on inducing trance via storytelling.
Yes, summarizing that technique. Never mention hypnosis, quiet place, convoluted story weaving, and current sensory details leading to erotic feelings, then a physical pass.
Appendix 4 on visualization for confidence.
Recap of associated through own eyes versus disassociated watching yourself, imagery, and the process for using them.
5 is anchoring for confidence recap.
Yep, reinforcing those steps.
And finally, Appendix 6, detecting and eliminating wackos.
His term, yes, acknowledges many women are dinged, warns against superficial judgment, talks about women who only do what they feel like or who hate sex. Strategy, early detection, and swift removal.
Introduces the Jeffries upright uptight scale.
Right. Vertical axis, enjoyment of sex, low uptight, score wanted, horizontal. Character warmth, respect, reliability, uprightness. Uses an anecdote about a saleswoman named Lisa as an upright example.
And gives early warning signs.
Yeah, like talking about sex constantly on a first date, which he suggests is often a sign of a prick teaser.
Well, that certainly covers a lot of ground from gettingwomen.pdf confidence-building attitudes, pickup lines, date management, and some deeply controversial methods around hypnosis and resistance.
Definitely comprehensive, and as we noted, parts of it are, well, provocative and ethically questionable, to say the least, especially the unfair tactics and how resistance is framed.
Absolutely. And just to reiterate, our goal here was simply to unpack and understand the arguments and techniques presented in the source material. We're not endorsing any of this.
Exactly. Which leads us to the final thought for you, the listener. Hearing all this, considering these perspectives, what does fair and effective actually mean in interactions between men and women?
And what are the real-world implications, both for someone using these strategies and for the people they interact with, if these kinds of tactics are employed?
It's definitely something worth reflecting on your own values, your own beliefs about relationships, and what feels right and ethical in how people connect.
Food for thought. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.